Welcome back everyone. Now we will understand how to actually segment the market. In previous two class, we understood what segmentation is and what are the different criteria for segmentation. In this class, with hands-on practice, we'll understand how to actually segment the market. I have given an example. So what you need to do, I talked about in previous class about different criteria for segmentation. For example, these are different criteria which we identify through what you can say qualitative study. So qualitative study talks about, I'll give you the example कि I want to launch a electric vehicle, two-wheeler electric vehicle. I want to launch this into the market. I went to potential customer. I wanted to understand what their need, preferences are there when they are purchasing and they want to purchase electric vehicle, two-wheeler electric vehicle. So it's the same process. I took the interview, I took the focus group discussion, then ethnography, then word association, sentence completion, different method I have used. And I come up with these four factors. After sales service, value for money, efficiency, and exterior design. These are the psychographic and behavioral factor. So these are the psychographic and behavioral factor which we identify. And we understood that gender and income play important role and relevant in purchase of electric vehicle, two-wheeler electric vehicle. So this is my first. I identify the criteria. This is very important thing. For every product, this will be different. Because when you are purchasing mobile phone, it could be the screen size, it could be the camera, it could be anything which is coming in the battery life, then charging time. That will come as a need rather than this. Now, for me, these are the factor which is socio-psychographic and behavioral factor. First, you need to measure it. What I did, I floated a survey form to my potential customer. And I asked them, on 1 to 5 scale, how much after sales services is important for you when you are purchasing a two-wheeler electric vehicle? Same question number 2, how much value of money is important for you when you are purchasing two-wheeler electric vehicle? Third, how much efficiency is important for you when you are purchasing this two-wheeler electric vehicle? How exterior design is important, and I have used 1 to 5 scale where 1 is not at all important and 5 is very, very important. You can use any scale. I have used 5-point scale for this. So customer number 1 or respondent number 1 responded, after sales service is 5 important, is very, very important. Value for money for that particular respondent is 3 important. 4 important, miss important. Exterior design neutral, neither important nor not important. Gender, I have categorized is female, 0, and that you have to remember how you have created the dummy code. Here I have created the dummy. When gender is female, code is 0. When gender is male, I have created code 1. You can create any of the dummy code. And income is nothing but K per 1000 per month. Means 174,000 per month is the income of customer number 1 or respondent number 1. When we talk about respondent number 2, he or she has given 5 for after sales service, 2 value for money, efficiency 5, exterior design 4, gender again female, and income is 132K. You can add different factor into it. It could be geography, it could be occupation, it could be any of the demographic and geographical factor which you think is relevant and important for your product. You should add into this. And that's how we collected data. Now, hope you understand how I have collected the data for this segmentation. The analysis which we are doing for segmentation is called cluster analysis. So cluster analysis is the tool which we will use for segmentation or to segment the market. So we will do that. We will do cluster analysis in R. So what you need to do, you need to open R Studio first. So I am opening R Studio. In the previous class also we worked on R Studio. You know that R Studio is having 4 quadrants. So this is the 4th quadrant which we are having. Now first we need to upload the data. This same data which I have shown you, I will upload here. So go to import dataset from Excel. Browse it wherever your data is. I'll share this data with you. So you can do hands-on at your place. So my data is on desktop. MOOC, week 2, cluster data. So my data name is cluster. Now here I have told you in previous class, first row is a name. Now we will check it. In previous class we unchecked it because in first row there was no label. Data start from row 1. But in this data, what is happening? My first row is not data. My data respondent one start from row number 2. So row 1 is the label. If you are collected data on after sales services or value for money, efficiency, exterior design, gender, income. So you have to check it. And then sheet number 1 by default and import it. So it will come here. Can you see? 475 observation and 6 variable. What does it mean? I have 6 columns in 475 rows excluding the label. So total data I am having called 475. Now please close this preview. I'll share this code with you which I have curated. You have to copy this all code that we did in previous class also, and you have to paste in your R console or R script. So you have to paste it into R script. I will share this code also with you. So I will share with you in the week 2. You will get code as well as data set. So you can do the hands-on on this. So first and foremost thing, you need to check the structure of your data, how your data look like. So for that, what you can do? You click on line number 4, which we call str. Str is the function which we are using for checking the structure of the data. I'll make you understand what the structure of data is. The structure means your data is numerical or categorical or text. So sometimes your data could be string data or text data. Sometimes your data could be categorical data that we understood ki okay, male and female 2 category, or north, east and south. These are the 4 category we are having. So your data could be categorical or grouping data, or it could be numerical data, your marks and your income. This is numerical data. So there are 4 type of data generally we are having: ordinal, nominal, ordinal, interval and ratio. So here what R is understanding, if your data is on exact number like your interval scale or exact data which is called ratio scale, then you will have this numerical or integer. So numerical integer means data is numerical. What numerical means? Ki if I am writing 2, machine will understand ki 2 is better than 1 and 3 is better than 2, like this. So these are the numbers. When I am saying group or factor data, means I have created the factor group 1 and group 2. So it will not understand ki 1 is better than 2 or 2 is better than 1. These are 2 distinct groups. And third is called string data, which is text data. So that's how just run the code, str characteristics, and you will understand. When you run the code, we are getting this ki total 475 into 6. After sales service numeric data makes sense because this is numerical data. 5 is better than 4, then 3, then 2, then 1. Value for money will be numerical data. It makes sense. Either it should be numerical integer. Some of the time in your data set it will come like integer. Makes sense. because numerical and integer is only difference that some data is having decimal and sometime data is not having decimal, so that will become integer. Efficiency numerical data, exterior design numerical data, income will be numerical data because this is exact number. What about gender? Gender may when have 0, 1. When I will put same like numerical, what machine will understand? 1 is better than 0 in terms of value. Means male is better than female, but it is not the case. Just we have given some identity to male and identity to female, and that we call categorical data or factor data. So here these are two groups or two factors that we need to understand. So my gender data is numerical and I have to change it to the factor. So how to change it? I am writing the code. My data name is cluster. In cluster, when you put the dollar sign, it will open all the column of the data. I'll do it cluster dollar. Moment use dollar sign, can you see? All the column will activated. So I want to change which column? Gender column. Is equal to, how you want to change it? As dot factor, means I want to convert into factor or group. And then they make changes into the same column. Don't create separate column. That column only use. This will not change your data. But in R, they will understand, okay, this is categorical data or grouping data, gender. So you just run line number 8 and then you come back to line number 4 and run this. Can you see gender? Factor data. How many labels? 2 labels, 0 and 1. And 0 for 0, they have identified group number 1. So wherever 0 is coming, group number 1. Wherever 1 is coming, group number 2. So can you see 0, 0, 0, first 4, they belong to group number 1, but it is female. Now you have to understand because you have created the dummy that 0 is for female. 1, 1, these are male, so group number 2. Then again 0, 1, then again 1, then 2, and like that they will identify it. So they converted this data into factor data. So that change you need to make. Now if I want to see the data key, how in pair my data is visualized, if you want to visualize it, the code we are using called pairs. So pairs cluster, just click here and run it. What is happening? Can you see it? This will show us the visualization of, so this is nothing but graph between after sales service and value for money. This means how my data is distributed. This is gender data. So this data is between gender and income. This data, again, this will be the mirror image. This data is between exterior design and this. So you can check that your data is skewed or your data is normally distributed or not. That's how we can check it. So it's only for visualization purpose that how your data looks like, and that's how you can. So can you see here, when we talk about value for money and income, most of the density I am getting here. So people who have given 5 is the dense data income when it coming to the income. So highest income people like this, they are having this density. Here their data is less. Can you see? Density is coming. So very few people is having less income and given 2 because income is here 50. So very few people has less income and given 2. Density is coming here. So people who are having highest income is giving the 2. Means that's how you can understand this. This is not for segmentation but to understand your data. Now when you are doing the segmentation, there are the method. First what we are doing, we are calculating the distance between two respondent. So what is happening, I'll tell you. First we will calculate the distance between two respondent, that how two respondent is having distance, and on the basis of those distance we will create the cluster. So in cluster analysis there are 2 call you need to make. First we will understand how many optimal cluster we require. That is the first call. Second call we need to understand, okay, if we are going for segmentation, what is the characteristics of those segment. If I'm getting 5 segment and 6 segment, what is the characteristics of those segment? So these are the two calls that we need to make. First, how many optimal segment I will get, and maximum segment. Maximum definitely could be all the data pointers. Optimal I would say rather than maximum. So what is the optimal number of segment we will get? That is the first call. And second call, how to get the characteristics of those segments. So when there are different methods to identify how many optimal segment will be there. First method is called dendrogram method, and people also call it hierarchical cluster analysis. So there is a method people are using called hierarchical cluster analysis, or people call H cluster analysis or hierarchical cluster analysis. H cluster analysis is using, first of the method people are using, or hierarchical cluster analysis people are using to know optimal segment number. Optimal segment number. Ki how many optimal segment we might get when on the data which we are running. And they are using the base called dendrogram. So they used to create the dendrogram. On the basis of dendrogram, they understand ki how many optimal numbers are coming. There are several methods. We will talk about two methods. First method is called as cluster method. So what they did, they used to calculate the distance between all the respondents. So we have 475 respondents, respondent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, like this. They will have all 470 will be plotted somewhere. Now, if my plot looks like this, so what it will understand? Okay, on the basis of the lowest distance, these people are similar in nature. These people are similar in nature, these people are similar in nature, these people are similar in nature. So they will tell us, following certain methodology, ki I will get 4 optimal cluster. And that's the method. So first they used to calculate the distance, and following certain criteria, they identify that how many segment I will get. So how to calculate the distance? They calculate the distance for following Euclidean method. So I hope that some of the people are aware of the method called Euclidean method. So Euclidean method we are using to calculate the distance, for distance calculation. For example, I'll give you an example. This is my 2 point. How Euclidean method work? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is my x-axis. This is my y-axis. 1, 2, 3, 4. My one point is this here, which we call A, and my second point is here called B. So I have 2 pointer A and B, and I want to know the distance between, what is the distance between A and B. Following Euclidean method, we will understand how to calculate the distance between A and B. So the coordinate of A will be x1 by 1, and coordinate of B will be x2 by 2. Now in actual, x1 is how? So we will run diagram like this. So x1 is equal to 1. So coordinate of A is equal to 1 and 1. On x-axis 1, on y-axis 1. For B, it is 4. So this coordinate of B is equal to 4 and 4. Means x2 is equal to 4, y2 is equal to 4. So I got the coordinate of A, which is 1 and 1, coordinate of B. It is nothing but on x-axis, how what is the value, on y-axis or the both the value. So x and y is the coordinates. Following Euclidean method, formula of distance d is equal to under root x2 minus x1 square plus y2 minus y1 square. This is the formula we are using in Euclidean method. In this case, my x2 is 4, minus x1 is 1 square, plus y2 is also 4, minus y1 is also 1 square, is equal to 3 square plus 3 square, means 18, means 3 root 2. This is the distance between A and B. So following this method, First, we will calculate the distance among all the respondents, 475 respondents, and on the basis of those distance, following different method, we will divide those 475 people into either one segment, two segment, three segment, four segment, and better way we are getting the optimality. So this is the nutshell. In the back end, R will do the analysis. That we will do here. I will take you again to the system where first we will calculate the distance. So I am calculating the distance. Distance is equal to the function I am using called dist. The function we are using called dist. Data is called cluster. My data name is cluster. Can you see my file name is cluster? Next time when you will work on your data, what you will do? You will change this data file name. Another thing will remain same. Method I have told you we are using Euclidean method. Just run line number 14. So you click anywhere on line 40 and just run it and check the distance. Can you see I got the distance? The R console. We got distance between 1 and 2, 14.03. Distance between 1 and 3, 13022. And these are different distance. We got 3 and 2 like this. So we got different distance here into this. Some of the data is not visible because they have omitted some of the rows. So that's how, and this is not my cup of tea. I don't want to know the distance. I want to get the about his optimal number. So I got the distance, but only some of the data is visible between these distance, that how they closely related among each other. Now, using hierarchical cluster analysis, there are different methods for it. We are going for BARD method. You can use different method, but BARD method is very famous method and popular method to know the optimal segment. And on the base following those method, we will calculate how. First, we'll get the dendrogram. On the basis of dendrogram, we'll understand how many segment I can get. So I am writing HC, which is hierarchical cluster analysis. Code I am using called hclust. What is the base? Distance. Distance is what? Distance between all the respondent. That is the base. Method I am using BARD D2. So just run this and you just plot it. So I am plotting which one? HC, which is nothing but my hierarchical cluster. Okay, how many optimal we should go, and we are putting the distance is 0.6. Just run this. We are getting what? We are getting cluster dendrogram. Now in cluster dendrogram, what you have to do? Try to understand this dendrogram, what it is. In the lower level, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all 475 respondents are there. These are all 475 because end of the day, all customers have different distance, right? Respondent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like this. But end of the day, all are same because they all belong to one customer. So can you see end of the day, all customer, this customer related to this. Generally, you have to, in dendrogram is subjective call where you have to see the mid path. So I am seeing between this, neither two. When you see this path, that higher, how many cluster you will have? Only one cluster because all belong to one cluster. When you see the lowest one, how many cluster you will have? 475, and that is the objective. End of the day, what will be the minimum number of cluster? 1. What is the maximum number of cluster? 475 because each person will have different cluster. So that's how in between I have to take a call. In optimality, if I am taking 200 to 400, can you see? This is my first cluster. This, and these are at 200 to 400 level, they are not related to this and they are not related to this. So I got 3 cluster, cluster 1, cluster 2 and cluster 3. Some people might see is cluster 1. So lower down page you can see cluster 1, cluster 2, cluster 3, cluster 4, cluster 5, cluster 6, cluster 7, cluster 8, cluster 9 like this. But you have to see the at least 200 to 400 in the mid path, and there I am seeing that these are not connected to here this. So there is no connection. What I do, just remember the first example which I have given you. When we are creating the cluster, inside the cluster there should be similarity, right? But 2 clusters should not be same. 2 clusters should be different. Means there should be no connection. That I am trying to. These people are closely related, but these are not related to this cluster. These people are closely related but not related. So I come up with the 3 cluster design. So that will be my option. Now I come up with 3. So hierarchical cluster analysis will come with a dendrogram, and dendrogram will tell me how many clusters we will get, optimal number of clusters we will get. Now when I am going for this, if you want to see, create the border, just run it. What you are getting now? You are getting color also. This is the cluster which you are getting. Can you see cluster 1? This is cluster 2 and this is cluster 3. That's how you are getting different. So hierarchical cluster analysis is telling me I will get 3 cluster solution. The other method people are using called elbow method. That is always another method that people are using. So either you can use this hierarchical cluster analysis using dendrogram, or you can use elbow method also. For elbow method, some packages are required. I have told you in the previous class also, for text mining, as we required TM, we required Snowball C, we required word cloud, we are requiring R-Color Brewer. For this elbow method, we required one software called PURRR. So first we need to install these packages. So how to install this package? Either you run this code, or simple we did in previous class, go to package, go to install, search PURRR. It's coming in, just select it and install it. So first you have to install these packages called PURRR, which is required. Then you have to activate it. I have told you in previous class, first you have to go to CRAN, take this package to your local environment, and then you have to activate it. Moment you will activate, how to activate it? Either you run the line number 35, or just search here into the package, just search it, and after that you are getting, just check it. Can you see code is run? Same code is run, install.packages, when I have installed it, and same code library run. So either you run this code, or you just do it manually. Both options. So now my library is activated. This is the function to create elbow. So just run this line number 39 to line number 51. Line number 39 to line number 51. Just run it. You will get this. This is nothing but total intra-cluster sum of square. Elbow method is saying you have to identify that new cluster distance. Can you see? There is huge distance, huge jump from this cluster number 2 to cluster number 1. This is 1 cluster, 2 cluster, 3 cluster, 4 cluster. We check 10 clusters. You can take n to 100 also. So can you see after 3 cluster, there is no much difference, right? This difference is this is this. Means is creating flat line. Means there is no much difference between cluster number 10 to cluster number 8, cluster number 9 and cluster number 6. So where is difference? Cluster 1, cluster 2 and cluster 3. So these are the 3 cluster, there is certain difference. After that, difference is more or less same. So these are the similar part. You got my point or not? So elbow may you have to see where we are getting the elbow. Elbow structure is this. Like this, the flat line is there. This is the vertical line, and after that we are having flat line. So like this, can you see cluster 1, cluster 2, cluster 3. After that there is a flat line. So we will go with 3 cluster solution. So either you use dendrogram, or you use this elbow method to identify these 2 methods to only identify the optimal number of cluster which you will have. That's it. So we got now we have 3 cluster, 3 optimum cluster we will get. Means total heterogeneous market, I can divide into 3 optimal sub market which will homogeneous in nature. Now it's very important to know what is the characteristics of those cluster, and for that we will run k-means cluster analysis. So k-means cluster analysis is one technique to know the characteristics of that specific cluster. Okay, now you know I have 3 cluster, cluster 1, cluster 2, cluster 3. What are their characteristics? On the basis of the criteria which you have taken, demographic, geography, which demography they belong to, which geography they belong to. Means I want to know the customer persona or customer characteristics belong to those segment. For that, we will run k-means cluster analysis. In next class, we will run k-means cluster analysis, and I will tell you how to understand the characteristics of the cluster, different cluster which we are getting, and most importantly, how to create customer persona based on those characteristics which we are getting here. So in next class, we'll understand how to understand the characteristics of those cluster. That is the first thing. And we'll also understand how to create customer persona on the basis of this customer characteristics of the specific segment which we are getting. So till here, we know that how many optimal cluster you can get, either following hierarchical cluster analysis method on the basis of dendrogram or on the basis of elbow method. So both the methods suggested that there will be 3 cluster solution. Now in next class we will understand how to understand the characteristics of those clusters. Thank you very much. In next class we will understand that how to create customer persona and how to understand their characteristics. Thank you.